You might have to re-invite.
Okay.
I'll get back there. I think you're live right now.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Larry Mowry. Meteorologist Jeff Jameson's going to hop on in just a second, and we're going to be answering your questions here as we go through the course of the afternoon on this little chat session we've started. We want you to answer or ask us questions rather on our Facebook page, and we'll be able to talk to you about what's happening as we go through the afternoon into the evening hours and overnight tonight, because this is going to get messy at times here across the area. And we have the potential here for a pretty nasty winter storm that's going to impact travel this evening, overnight tonight, and in the morning tomorrow, and really even through a good portion of the day tomorrow. So, we've got a lot to talk about, and we want you to ask some questions for us here on the CBS DFW Facebook page. I see a question right now from Michelle Mejia. She asked, will this affect schools in the morning, and have any schools started closing for today or tomorrow? Michelle, I can tell you that there have been some schools that have closed early here this evening, mainly in our far northwestern counties. That's where we've had some closings so far in terms of closing early. In terms of tomorrow, haven't seen anything yet. It may happen later this evening, but that may be something they're going to wait on till later tonight to decide. But we've got a full list of closings on our website, cbsdfw.com. You go to our homepage, there's a little bar at the top that says closings, and then you can go right to that and answer, and then look for the closings that you have there. So, this is a pretty active event for us. We're going to have kind of it's really messy here as we go to the through the evening hours. So we're going to have to deal with this through the evening and overnight tonight. I'm having a little technical issue right here. I'm going to see if we can get this straightened out to get Jeff Jameson to join the call for us here. So please bear with me for 1 second, if you would. Okay, and so there we go. Okay, very good. I think we got that hooked up, and so we're going to get Jeff on the call here, and we will go from there. Okay, so let me see if we got any more questions coming in. Go Facebook page, just search CBS DFW on Facebook, and you'll go right there to the page, and we'll be able to answer some questions. Here's another one from Lorraine. She says, hello, Larry. We are listening to you from our workplace overlooking the North Dallas Toll Road. So, hi, Lorraine, and all your coworkers there. Thanks for hopping on. Up there in Plano, the temperature will probably drop to freezing, around 6 o'clock, give or take, maybe an so either way. And once we drop to 32 degrees, it's not like the roads are going to automatically ice up. It's going to take a little time. The magic number is 28 degrees. That tends to be the number when we really start to see problems on the roadways. So, once we get below freezing, you're going to have to take it real slow and just use a lot of caution out there, because if we have some precipitation falling when we drop below freezing, some of those elevated surfaces like bridges and overpasses may start to get a little glaze of ice on them. What I think is going to happen, though, is, once we drop to freezing, there may be a time frame where we don't have a lot of precipitation coming down. It'll kind of be a lull on the activity. I mean, if you look outside right now, if you're in Dallas and also up into Collin County, we've got some pretty good bands of rain coming through, and even some thunderstorms. You may have heard some thunder here in the past couple of minutes. And that's going to be, with us here for, a few more hours this afternoon, and then we'll drop below freezing, and we'll have a little lull in the precipitation once we drop below. But then as we head towards 9, 10, 11, midnight tonight, the intensity is going to pick back up, and I wouldn't be surprised to hear some thunder sleet, some thunder snow later tonight. And it's in those bands where we get thunderstorms to develop, where we're going to get the highest accumulation and the fastest accumulation too, and that's going to be really problematic for us, because things are ramp up in terms of the intensity of the precipitation later tonight, and we'll get the accumulation to really start to measure up. And I know I'm going to get a lot of questions with this, but how much accumulation are we looking at? Well, like this, because it'll be a mixture of sleet and snow all together, we're probably going to see a little bit of of a varied accumulation from area to area. Some areas where we get more sleet, you'll have slightly less accumulation. Those that get a little bit more snow will have higher accumulation because the sleet tends to pack down on itself, whereas the snow, kind of lays on top of itself a little more fluffier. So, a general rule right now, 2 to maybe 4 inches in a few isolated locations. Some spots could get a little bit more, and then, some areas will probably get a little bit less. And if I had to ballpark an area where I think the highest snow totals will be, it really looks like a corridor from DFW up through about the eastern and northeastern parts of North Texas. So from Dallas to say Greenville over towards the Canton area, up towards the Sulphur area, that looks to be kind of the zone where we could get the highest snowfall totals here. We go overnight tonight. So, boy, it's a mess, all winter without seeing anything. And here we're getting slammed 2 weeks in a row. And it's kind of the way it goes sometimes. Typically, I always look to February as the month when we usually can see, winter weather. And in fact, in March, we've had our rounds of winter weather in the past. And I was looking up some of the data and climate-wise. In April, we've had 3 times where it's snowed in April, with the most recent time being back in 2007. So here's another question from Kendall on our Facebook page, CBS DFW Facebook page. So you just search CBS DFW, you'll find it. He says, can we get some spring weather, please? I need sunshine, a good breeze, and flip-flops over this dreary cold weather. I agree with you, Kendall. I think we're all kind of over winter now for the most part. There are probably a few that really still like this. But, it's tomorrow. Next week's going to be better. We're going to see a little bit more sunshine and temperatures are going to get warmer. But yeah, I think we're all ready for a little spring weather and some sunshine. One of our engineers, Jorge, is going to hook up the sound system here. So I'm going to kind of squeeze over here while he works back over there behind the computer. I got another question here. I heard freezing rain at 3 p.m. this afternoon. True. Please tell me here in HEB we'll be home before freezing stuff. Deb, I will tell you that it won't change over to freezing rain until after 3 o'clock there in the Hearst, Euless, and Bedford area. It's more looking like 5 to 6 p.m. in that area. So you're going to be okay to pick up the kids at 3 o'clock. Up to the north, though, where the changeover has already happened, that's where we'll see temperatures, to the freezing mark sooner before school's out. But up there in the Hearst, Euless, and Bedford area, the roads will be wet. It's going to start to get colder, and it will actually feel like it's freezing because the temperatures will have dropped throughout the day. But there in Hearst, Euless, and Bedford, I don't expect you to drop below freezing until 5-ish or so. At the very earliest, it would be 4 o'clock. But I'm thinking 5 or 6 up there in Hearst, Euless, and Bedford. Let's see if we got another question here. And these are coming in on our CBS DFW Facebook page. And please feel free to share this link as well with all those out there on your own personal Facebook page. I see we're getting at least an amount of viewers here to hop on, so we appreciate that. It's good to see y'all here. And so, we want to help as many people as we can with what we expect here this evening. I do expect the roads really to be just a mess for us here as we head through the overnight hours and even tomorrow morning. I got another one here from Yolanda Clark Lewis on our Facebook page. She asked, when is the sun going to shine again, Larry? Good question, Yolanda. I'll tell you, we are going to see some sunshine. In fact, we might see quite a bit of sunshine in the afternoon, which will help in the melting from the sleet and snow that we see here tonight. And so, there will be an improvement in the roadways later today, tomorrow, but in the morning we'll wake up with temperatures in the 20s. So there's going to be the ice still in the roadways. That's going to be with us here. And then as we head into the sunshine, we'll start to get some melting, and the roads will actually improve a little bit. But any water that's left over on those roadways for tomorrow night, that's going to refreeze because we're going to drop into the 20s tomorrow night. So any water that's still in those roads is just going to ice back up for Friday morning. And Friday will get a little bit warmer as well. So yeah, thanks for that question. Let's see if we got any more questions coming in right now. And
we're going to try to test that.
Okay. All right. So I am hopping on right now. I'm going to try to get Jeff into the call. Jeff Jameson is in our newsroom right now, and I have sent him a little message. So hopefully he'll hop on here for us in just a second. The one thing that I want to show you is the current temperatures. And what I can do here on this Google Hangout here is I'll show you what I'm looking at on my weather computers right now. So here's a look at my maps, and you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, these are the current temperatures. I believe it's working good. Yeah, sweet. Thank you guys. Okay. Appreciate it. We got a great engineering team here at CBS 11. Right, perfect. Thank you guys. So, look at Bowie right now. It's 31 degrees. It's 31 in Graham and 29 in Wichita Falls. And that's the freezing line that'll be working its way towards us here as we go through the afternoon into the evening. Bridgeport's already down to 35, 33 right now in Gainesville, and 37 currently in Denton. So, this is the situation we're in. We've got the winter storm warning in effect for all the counties shaded in purple. 2 to 4 inches of sleet and snow. And as I was talking about when we first started the conversation, I think those snowfall totals are a pretty good estimate of what I expect. There are going to be some that probably get a bit more and some that get a little bit less, but that's kind of what we're looking at here in terms of snowfall totals for us as we go through the overnight hours. Now, I am a tad bit, concerned about the roads later tonight because they are going to get real slick and icy once the heavier precipitation comes in, and they will come in the form of bands. So, it's going to be not a continuous sleet snow event, but we're going to see these bands of precipitation roll through that will give us the problems. Okay, going back to the Facebook page, CBS DFW on our Facebook page, we get another question here. This is good. Kyle asked me this question. Can you please briefly explain what distinguishes between sleet, freezing rain, and snow, especially where and how it develops up in the sky and what happens as it falls? That's a great question, Kyle, because the past 2 weeks we've been talking about this mess that we've seen of winter weather starting last week into this week. And basically, the way to think about it is when we have snow, the air from the ground level all the way up through the atmosphere is below freezing. So here at the ground, we're at freezing or colder. Now, I will tell you, sometimes it does snow when we're like at 35 degrees or so, but even when that happens, the whole column of air above us is completely below freezing. So that's when we get snow, when that whole column of air above us is below freezing. Now, when we get sleet, we are below freezing here at the ground level, but just above the ground by about, it varies, 2,000 to 5,000 feet or so, we're actually above freezing. And in that very thin layer of air where we're above freezing, what happens is up here in the clouds where all the snowflakes are forming, those snowflakes fall through the sky into that warmer layer of air that's above freezing, and those snowflakes melt back into raindrops. And then when they fall back into the layer of freezing air that's between that warmer layer and the ground, they freeze back up in sleet pellets and become little ice balls. And that's sleet. That's what we're going to see pretty much tonight. There's a little warm layer of air about 2,000 to 5,000 feet above us that will melt those snowflakes that fall from the clouds into raindrops. And then as those raindrops enter the area of air that's below freezing again, they're going to freeze back into little sleet pellets and then reach the ground and start accumulating. Now, freezing rain is kind of similar to sleet, but the only difference is when those snowflakes fall from the sky into that warmer layer and then melt into raindrops and then fall into the cold layer that's below freezing, they don't have enough time to freeze back to ice pellets. So those raindrops fall through that below freezing layer of air and stay as raindrops. But when they hit surfaces like bridges and overpasses or the top of your car or tree limbs, they freeze on those surfaces because the air temperature is below freezing, but the actual raindrops don't have enough time to freeze in the air on their way down. So that's a really good question. Thank you for that question there on our Facebook page. So let me go back to the Facebook page here, and we will answer a couple more questions for you. Let's see here. You got to spread the word here that we're doing this. This is kind of nice to talk to you all about what we're seeing here and what's coming our way. George Burney, hi there. What time do you think the roads will ice over? Probably right when rush hour kicks off. Also wondering if you have a prediction on when most of the ice will clear tomorrow morning. George, good question. I think the roads will be in decent shape, at least the early afternoon commute. The later commuters, especially after the sun goes down, that's when we'll start to run into some issues with slight icing developing on bridges and overpasses. Again, this is all when we drop below freezing, which ballpark timeline here in Dallas about 6 p.m., maybe 5 p.m.-ish in Fort Worth, a little bit earlier up to the north. So if you're up in Denton and Collin counties, the changeover to freezing rain will probably be a little bit earlier than that, 4 or so, maybe even 3-ish or so up in Denton, maybe 4-ish or so over in McKinney in the Plano area, and then just slightly later the farther south you go. So, you know, the bulk of the afternoon commute before the sun goes down should be okay. After that, that's when we'll start to see some issues on the roadways. And also wondering when the ice will clear up tomorrow morning. Well, boy, it's going to be bad through the morning commute for sure. With some sunshine, things will improve. But it's going to be probably a slow process because in some locations with 2 to 4 inches of sleet and snow on the roads, that's going to be a mess for the crews to work through. And then also just it'll take a long time to melt that much sleet and ice. So you have 10-ish here on your question. I don't think it's going to be great 10-ish tomorrow morning. It may not be in the afternoon until we see, you know, a decent improvement, but there's still going to be ice on the roadways pretty much throughout the entire day tomorrow. So thanks for that question. We appreciate it. We love hearing your responses here and your feedback. So let's see. Let's go to another question here on from Shelly. Shelly asks, will the weather be good enough in the morning for the flight from Love to Baltimore to depart? Well, Shelly, I'll tell you that the precipitation will have ended by the morning tomorrow. In fact, I expect it to end before the sun comes up tomorrow morning. So we're not going to have any sleet and snow falling. It's really just a matter of, okay, how quickly can the crews at DFW get the runways cleared and keep them ice-free. And then you're also going to run into a big backlog, too, of flights that have been either canceled or delayed tonight. And then, you know, that just backs up the whole system. So, boy, you know, if the crews can get the runways clear, they'll be de-icing throughout the morning tomorrow. I would expect delays. I would expect a lot of delays and probably some cancellations too. So yeah, check your airline before you head to the airport tomorrow, because it is going to be really kind of a mess at the airport tomorrow, as well as it will be later tonight with anybody trying to get in. Let's see here. Yes, we are answering questions right here on our Facebook page, CBS DFW Facebook. If you want to Facebook out the link here to this video chat, we'd love to get as many people as we can to hop on here and talk to us about the impending weather. It's one of those situations where with the social media, we can actually talk to a lot of folks and get some answers to some of the questions you have with what we're seeing. I'm just updating my Facebook page, right? So that way people who are following my Facebook page can hop on and join us right here on this little chat we're having. It's tough to talk and type at the same time. Sometimes your mind doesn't go with what your fingers are doing. So yeah, here we go. So let's talk temperatures again, because I'm going to show you the screen here where I'm going to share with you what I see here on my weather computers here when we're doing different things about the forecast. And you're going to see this here in just a second. There we go. Whoa, look at that. That's pretty cool, isn't it? That's that. Okay. So right now, to give you a rundown of temperatures, it is 38 degrees right now at DFW. It's 29 currently in Wichita Falls, 26 up in Oklahoma City. So that's the cold air that's heading our way as we go through the course of the afternoon. Here you can see it. There's the map. There's the front. Look at Austin. It's 67 right now in Austin. And Shreveport's up to 77. Doesn't that feel great? Look at Lufkin, too, 81 degrees. Yeah, it's not going to last there either. The cold air is rushing southward. And the other thing to note here is look at all the precipitation back into Oklahoma and the Panhandle. And, this precipitation is generally moving from southwest to northeast. So as the colder air spills in, this precipitation back in West Texas will be moving right over top of us and bringing in the sleet, freezing rain at first, and then the sleet, and then some snow at times as we go into the afternoon hours. So, boy, it's not going to be a nice evening for us with as much sleet and snow that we're going to see. Jeff Ray walked into the Weather Center right now. Jeff Ray, say hello to our folks.
Hey guys, I'm going to be up in Decatur here in the early show, showing you where that changeover is occurring first.
And Jeff, in a situation like this, it's going to be once we do hit the freezing mark, it's not going to be an automatic ice on the road. It's going to take at least a little bit.
The temperatures are at 50 degrees at 6 a.m. So it's an accumulation of these temperatures having to drop and this stuff falling. That said, though, Larry, if the sleet falls heavy enough, it really doesn't matter if it's still above freezing. There'll just be stuff sitting, mounding on the road, so it will become very slippery. I mean, more obviously than just it being water.
Yeah. Got another question from Michelle here. She says, with all this rain, has there been any news on any severe thunderstorms or tornado watches? Michelle, I can tell you we're not going to get any severe weather with these thunderstorms that are coming through this afternoon. You're going to hear a little bit of thunder at times, heavy downpours. Will not happen to weather this afternoon as this colder air spills in. To our south, that's a different story. As you move down to South Texas and even southern Louisiana, there's a threat of some severe storms down that way, but it doesn't look like it's a huge outbreak of severe weather. But again, we're not going to see any severe thunderstorms or tornado watches here. It's the winter storm warning that's in effect that we're looking at right now. Grab Jeff Jameson and we'll kind of if he's ready. Yes. So again, keep asking us these questions on our Facebook page. We really appreciate your questions and all your input here on the newscast too. We like hearing from our viewers. We love you all, and we hope you spread the word here and tell everybody to watch us here on CBS 11. Let's see here. Looking for another question on our CBS DFW page. Let's see. By the way, is our weather center back here, our storm center. We do all of our work throughout the day. We work on the computers back here to put our forecast together. And basically, we are meteorologists here at CBS 11. So Jeff Jameson and myself, we sit down and make a forecast ourselves and then put it together by building all of our graphics and putting it on the air. And that's what you see at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock each day. So Jeff Jameson just walked into the Weather Center right here. And Jeff, if you want, I'll hand things over to you for a little bit, and we'll kind of swap it out. And I'll post some stuff to my Twitter page, CBS 11 Larry, and Jeff will answer some more of your questions. And again, thanks for joining us, and I'll be back in a few moments.
All right. Well, as Larry's been talking about, we're still watching the freeze line move in from the northwest. That's going to continue. That progress continues all throughout the day today. Latest temperatures in the Metroplex are now in the mid to upper 30s. So things are progressing as we have thought here over the past few days, that we'd start warm and end cold, and cold enough to get that rain changing over to some freezing rain and sleet here by the afternoon. And I wasn't able to hear everything Larry was talking about, so I'm reading some of your questions right now, so I apologize if Larry has already answered some of these. I know, Larry, you answered the questions about what's the difference between snow, sleet, and freezing rain. And so I see another question here. Thanks for that question again, Kenneth King. So briefly, the difference between snow, freezing rain, and sleet, it all has to do with the temperature in the middle and upper layers of the atmosphere. So while it can be below freezing here on the ground, as you know, sometimes even if it's 28 degrees here on the ground, we can get sleet, or we can get freezing rain, or we can get snow, but it's all dependent on what's going up further above our head. So if we have temperatures below freezing from the ground all the way up, it's snow, typically. Now, if there's a little layer of temperatures above freezing in the middle layers of the atmosphere, and it's fairly small, then that's usually when we get sleet. So the snowflakes fall into that slightly warmer layer, they melt a little bit, and then as they fall down to the ground, they refreeze into ice pellets. Basically, that's what sleet looks like and is. So when you see sleet, that's what bounces off the windshield or the ground. Now, if that layer of warmer air is a little bit bigger, that's when we get freezing rain, because the snow falls to that larger area of temperature freezing. It melts all the way and falls to the ground as liquid. But then once it hits the ground, it is below freezing, and so it forms that sheet of ice. Freezing rain is the most dangerous type of winter weather because it's very difficult to navigate on wet roadways and those icy roadways. With sleet and even snow, there's a little bit of traction that can happen, but even after a few hours, that sleet and snow get packed down to the ground, and it becomes just a thin sheet of ice, just like freezing rain would be. So that's the question about freezing rain. Thank you, Kenneth. Let's see, do we anticipate a lot of closings or delays from school on Thursday? And the answer is yes. We will, at least at this point, if what we're forecasting actually pans out, then we will definitely see a lot of schools deciding to close or delay coming up on Thursday. Now, it's a lot of people ask us about the schools. We have no control over that. All we can do is provide them the information. And they're getting that information from many, many sources. And so there are a lot of intelligent people that are making those decisions at each school district. But I would say with a winter storm warning in place and the amount of sleet and snow that we're forecasting for overnight into tomorrow morning, I think it's going to be very difficult to be able to get a lot of people out on the roads, on the ice. And even, of course, one of the schools closing down is the sidewalks and parking lots that get ice there. So it's even hard to park. It's hard to pull the school bus up in front of the school. And then it's can be dangerous if the kids are trying to walk on the icy sidewalk. So that's another concern that we have whenever we're looking at school closings. So we can't say for certainty that a school district is going to close. You'll be able to get those here at cbsdfw.com as soon as they come in. And so we will continue to look for that possibility, but by no means do we know for sure that schools are going to close. All right, still looking at some of your questions, and as I'm talking to you, I'm going to keep looking at temperatures. Up in Oklahoma, they're all below 30 degrees. So from Wichita Falls up to Oklahoma City, up toward Tulsa, in the mid-20s with snow and ice. So it is bad already in Oklahoma, and that's a word to the wise if you're heading north. So if you had plans today to head north on I-35 or north on 287, rethink those plans or no. It's going to be pretty icy once you get up near Wichita Falls and cross over the Red River into Oklahoma at this point. Things are deteriorating up there, and they're just getting a taste of what we're going to get here later on this afternoon and this evening. So 29 right now in Wichita Falls. We'll continue to see temperatures drop into the lower 30s here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I want to check out also what's going on with temperatures a little bit closer to give you an idea. So we've dropped to 37 in Denton, 36 in McKinney, right at freezing in Gainesville, 31 in Bowie and Graham. So our far northwestern corner, you're already in the winter storm warning. It begins for the rest of the Metroplex at 3 o'clock this afternoon. But that cold north wind is already driving those sub-freezing temperatures farther and farther south. And that wind will continue today, gusting over 30 miles an hour. And that's the other part of the story. Along with the freezing precipitation, the wind is going to be terribly strong. And so our wind chills later on tonight will be in the 20s. In some cases, will be in the teens. So it's going to feel even colder than it actually will be on the thermometer. And that also lends itself to the possibility that if we get some of that freezing rain coating to tree limbs that are hanging over power lines, or even the power lines themselves, then we could have some power outages to talk about later on tonight and tomorrow. Now, if we get more sleet and snow, then that won't be as big of a concern, but even just a little bit of a coating of freezing rain on a tree branch that may have already been weakened previously and is hanging over a power line or a transformer, that's when the danger comes in for power outages. We always have that, and the wind, as strong as it does not help because it's going to blow those tree branches around, the power lines around. They'll be more susceptible to being able to either fall or go down in terms of power. So we want to definitely keep an eye on that for later on tonight and tomorrow. It's one more thing to think about. And I know one of you here in the thread earlier asked about when is it going to warm up? Is next week going to be warmer? And the answer is yes, thankfully. And for many in North Texas, it's a spring break week. And so we are going to be looking at some spring-like weather finally coming up for next week. In fact, we'll probably be in the 70s at least a day or two next week. And so the pattern's beginning to change, as it does usually this time of year. It's not out of the question to get these winter weather events in the month of March. In fact, we've had snow around here, even on Easter years past. It hasn't really shut down North Texas with a lot of ice or snow, but we've had at least wintry precipitation even into April here in North Texas. So this is not out of the question. Even last year, we had a pretty significant snow in early March that kind of caught everyone while being to work in school, and so that was a March event, just like today is going to be. So these are events that do happen from time to time. They're in March, not out of the question. But I think after the past week and a half that we've had, everybody's ready for this to end pretty quickly. This does appear to be the last hurrah here as we transition into that warmer pattern coming up for next week. I'm just going to search, or also on Twitter, by the way, using the hashtag CBS11WX. And looks like we have a question here from Jones on Twitter. Why does the American Airlines Center continue to show the TxDOT Dallas that it wants people to stay off the roads? Why does this continue with shows? Yeah, well, private companies they make those decisions for themselves. So I think, again, just like we were talking about with school districts, there are very intelligent people at the AAC and other businesses and venues that have to decide the risk reward. So they stand to lose a lot of money if they cancel something like that. Even though a lot of people, if they've purchased tickets, a lot of times it's non-refundable. But they also know that there will be some people that, even though the recommendation from TxDOT and certainly from the media, that as we will be telling you all afternoon and evening, that if you don't have to get out, then stay home. But we can't control everybody's behavior. Some people will want to see a show at the AAC or a Mavericks game, regardless of what we say or what TxDOT is recommending. So that's something that businesses and venues like the AAC have to say whether or not it's worth keeping things going, even in an event like this. No doubt they'll get less attendance later on tonight because of the weather. Okay. Let's see if we have any more questions from Facebook. It's nice to see the forecast is verifying. A lot of times in the middle of a winter weather event, things begin to change rather rapidly, or something has occurred, or temperatures are not cooling down as fast, or maybe they're cooling down faster than we thought. But so far, pretty much right on schedule. So we got a question here on Facebook from Nicole King Brown. Expect road conditions to be like by mid-afternoon on Thursday. Well, that's going to be something we'll have to really watch, and it really also depends on how much we see later on tonight through tomorrow morning. So if we see the 3 or 4 inches of sleet and snow in those areas, temperatures are really going to have a hard time warming up above freezing tomorrow. If you see less sleet or snow, then there's a chance temperatures go above freezing, but we've been forecasting highs only in the mid-30s on Thursday for the past several days. So the good news about tomorrow is that we will have sunshine, and that sun, even if temperatures are not above freezing, the sun itself will help heat the ground up and cause some melting. If we have a lot of sleet and snow, it's going to take a longer time, obviously. I think a lot of the roads will have a marked improvement during the afternoon tomorrow. Then the threat is whatever doesn't evaporate or doesn't run off into storm drains or just in the grassy areas, whatever's left on roadways Friday morning will have a chance to refreeze, because we will be back down into the 20s Thursday and Friday morning. But by far, the biggest problem is going to be late tonight, tomorrow morning in terms of travel, and it will be less so Thursday and Friday, because we'll have some dry air and sunshine for Thursday to help evaporate that moisture off the road, and hopefully we'll see a big improvement as we head into Thursday night and Friday. Now, there still will be some icy spots around Friday morning, but much less than what we're expecting for tomorrow morning. Okay, let's see. How often does the National Weather Service update forecast models? Good question. You always hear us talk about all the different computer models we look at, and there are models that the Weather Service runs, but there are a vast array of models. Some are run by the government here in the United States, some in Canada, some in Europe, some in Japan, but we have access to all of those. And some of them are run hourly. So we have some very short-term models that we look at that we get a new update from that model literally every hour. And so that's kind of a model that we would use to nowcast. You hear that term nowcasting, basically now and the very short term. So now in the next couple of hours, we use those models to make forecasts like that. So we're looking at those types of models a lot on a daily to see, okay, let's see in the next hour what's going to happen. Is this model verifying what we've already seen in the past hour? Sometimes you can look at those really short-term models and they're out to lunch because current temperature is 37, but they said at 1 o'clock it was going to be 40. And so we already know that it's not on the same page. On a day in and day out basis, we look at computer models that usually update anywhere between 2 and 4 times a day in a 24-hour period. And so we get that information in every 6 hours or so, which is helpful for us. And a lot of it is timed so that we get the latest information right before our shows in the afternoon, and Larry gets another update right before the 10 o'clock at night. And so those are the most helpful day in and day out forecast models that we use here in the CBS 11 Storm Center. So good question. And there's dozens and dozens of computer models. Universities, companies offer their own computer models. There's a whole lot of information there to look at, and that's good because the more information we have, the more we can either see if the models are coming into pretty good agreement on something, or if there are model biases that we know. So one computer model may do really well in a winter weather event like we're seeing today, and another model may do well at all. And if we know that going into it, then we can kind of take that model with a grain of salt. It's always good to have as much information as we possibly can. Okay. Still looking on Facebook here for any other questions. Yeah, I think most of you have really just been curious about what's going to happen with school tomorrow and other businesses. And again, just to reiterate, we don't close schools. We have a lifeline to any of the school districts where we tell them to close schools. We're getting the same information that you are, but they have criteria at each school district, and they have set of safety standards and in an event like this that they have to take into consideration for the district. And so based on that information, they'll be able to make a decision. Now, as we're forecasting, this is going to start turning pretty bad later on tonight. And so the school districts are keeping abreast of the weather right now. And so once they see that we're seeing that rain changing over freezing rain, sleet, and eventually snow, and if the forecast that we have verifies, then I do think we'll have many, many school cancellations or delays tomorrow. I think that's almost a certainty looking at the forecast. Whether a school district decides to delay or cancel outright, again, just a variety of factors go into that. But because the volume of sleet and snow that we're forecasting and the fact that we'll still be below freezing for a majority of the morning, if not the entire morning tomorrow, just about all that will still be, but certainly at sunrise when the buses will start running, and even as late as 9, 10 a.m., a lot of ice on the roads before we start seeing that sun come out and really work melting some of that ice. So no doubt there'll be school cancellations tomorrow. How many, we just don't know, and which specific districts, we don't know that either.
And Jeff, I'm just seeing that Gainesville is reporting a little light sleet falling. It's 32 degrees right now in Gainesville.
Okay, yeah, so sleet already in Gainesville. As we've been talking about, it's going to work in from north to south. So the farther north you live in North Texas, the sooner you're going to get this freezing rain and sleet into your area. And as we had been talking about all week, it was going to happen from north to south, and that's why the winter warning went into effect in our northwestern counties at noon. And does not start until the Metroplex until we get to 3 o'clock. And so that's going to be closer to the time we expect to see the changeover here in the Metroplex. And as we've been talking about, because that freezing line is going to be working north to south, for the evening commute tonight, the northern parts of the Metroplex have a chance to start these heavy patches as early as 4 or 5 o'clock up in Wise, Denton, and Collin counties. So we're going to watch those areas first. And then in the immediate Metroplex, Dallas, Tarrant, Rockwall counties, probably closer to 6 or 7 is when we're going to start seeing some icy spots on the roads. And then after the sun goes down around 6:30, then we'll start seeing a whole lot more icy patches on the roads, because any solar radiation we have goes away, of course, after the sun goes down, and things really accelerate in terms of ice formation on the roads. And then the temperatures themselves will continue into the 20s by the time we get to 9, 10 o'clock tonight. And with another wave of sleet and snow expected overnight and temperatures in the 20s, that's when the majority of that sleet snowfall occur here in the rest of North Texas. And so if you've seen the graphics today that we had earlier in terms of impact, this is a winter storm that's expected to have widespread impact over North Texas. Because of the way this system is going to be moving through, there'll be a large swath where there's the potential for 1 to 3, maybe even 4 inches of snow. And it's not out of the question for an isolated 5 inch of snow total here with this event later on tonight and tomorrow morning. I got a question from Twitter about what time can we expect to see it start to freeze in West Fort Worth? How is it around Mesquite, and when can we expect that to get bad? So first of all, West Fort Worth, again, that's going to be close to the evening commute, probably 5, 6 o'clock. We'll start seeing the changeover in West Fort Worth. It's going to be sooner to the north and a little bit later to the south. And then in Mesquite, about the same, probably around 6, we'll start seeing the changeover from rain to freezing rain as we make our way deeper and deeper into the evening. Our own Rhea Villarreal, like this question, Maria, when will the sun come out tomorrow? And there's a picture of Annie on here. The sun will come out tomorrow, which is, it's true. It will come out tomorrow. That's the good news, really. Otherwise, if we stayed cloudy all day tomorrow and temperatures did not get above freezing, we'd still have major problems all throughout the day tomorrow. But the sun is our definite friend. We want to see it anyway. Haven't seen much of it. We had a little bit last Wednesday. So the sun will be nice. Now, it's not going to be a warm day, so it's not going to be a warm sun tomorrow. And again, as we've been talking about, depending on how much sleet and snow is on the ground, many of you may not even get above freezing, but at least the sun itself will help melt some of the stuff that's on the roads. All right, Aaron on Twitter asks, when will the precipitation be over? He's looking at models that say 3 to 7 a.m., and that's probably a good timeline for when everything begins to wind down from west. Really from northwest to southeast, we'll see everything come to an end overnight. And so by the time many of you wake up tomorrow morning, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, the precipitation itself will be over. So we're not going to have much falling tomorrow at all. If we see any of that, it's going to be very early in the morning, and most of the day will be dry. It's really, tomorrow is going to be dealing with the impacts of what falls later on tonight into the overnight hours. So Aaron, I think you're pretty good at looking at those models and seeing that, yeah, 3 to 7 a.m. is when everything begins to wind down here across North Texas. Let's see if there's anyone else on Twitter using the hashtag 11WX. If you're interested in asking a question on Twitter, check Facebook again. We have about 13 minutes left on our chat here this afternoon. We'll have another update at the top of the hour on TV, by the way.
And yes, I'm just seeing in Bowie, reports temperatures are below freezing and not much precipitation falling at this time, but I'm told the Bowie ISD decided to release students an hour early because of the weather coming in. So Bowie an hour early, Bowie ISD, they're letting kids out early. And there are several schools that are doing that right now. And on our website, cbsdfw.com, we got the closings. I anticipate that list will get pretty long later tonight.
Yeah. This is probably going to be like what we had going on. Was last Tuesday? No, it was last Monday Eve. But it was very apparent that we were going to have ice on the roads by that night into tomorrow morning. What had already fallen Monday was still on the ground. It was going to be icy. And many of the school districts were making those decisions that afternoon, that evening. I imagine we're going to see a similar setup today, where they're going to let you know more than likely this evening before you go to bed whether or not you're going to have school tomorrow.
Once temperatures drop below freezing, it's not going to be an automatic ice up, but as we go later into the evening hours below freezing, the moisture that's on the roads will start to freeze up, and then the heavier precipitation will settle in later this evening, probably after 9-ish or so, 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And those waves of precipitation that come in, those are the waves that will start the accumulation process. And where we get the heavier downburst of sleet and snow, that's where we're going to end up with 2 to 4 inches. And I know you've been talking about it, Jeff, but the real high likelihood is that we see lightning with these bands of snow and sleet that comes through, with it mainly being sleet. But we talked about last week, thunder sleet. We'll probably get a little more sleet here this evening and overnight tonight as well.
Yeah, and that was a lot of you had questions about thunder sleets, and I know Larry had a great video explainer last week. But it's basically a thunderstorm with sleet. So the same processes are going on in the atmosphere that would cause lightning in a regular thunderstorm, except temperatures are below freezing all the way through, at least in most of the afternoon. And then instead of rain falling out of that storm, it's sleet.
Yeah.
It's just shocking because you don't expect that. When you have wintry weather, you're not expecting to hear that boom of
When
thunder.
it's below freezing out here,
Right.
get lightning, you don't see it.
We have thunder snow too. That's
Yep.
that's possible
Certainly
with
is.
this. But yeah, there's a lot of dynamics tonight. This is a pretty potent upper level disturbance that's working across the area as we see temperatures falling into the low 30s and upper 20s. And so, as we've been talking about what the difference is between freezing, so much of our weather is not really about what's happening here on the surface as much as it is what's happening 5, 10, 15,000 feet above us.
And oftentimes that 5,000 to 15,000 feet range, it can be the difference of a degree or two that makes or break our forecast. And
It's frustrating.
yeah, it can be. This looks like a pretty sure bet. We're going to get hit pretty bad. I mean, there's no question that we're going to see sleet tonight and snow mixed in at times. I guess the real only variable question that needs to be answered is just how much accumulation we see. And that will be really highly dependent on where the heavier bands of precipitation set up later this evening and overnight. So, we've been saying general rule of 2 inches to some isolated locations seeing 4 inches. That's kind of a broad brush approach to the accumulation totals, but it's going to vary from location to location depending on where these bands set up later this evening and overnight tonight. But as temperatures drop into the 20s, it won't take much to cause problems on the roads, just a little bit, and it's going to get bad on those roadways.
Yeah, and another question a lot of people had last week was about winter weather advisories versus winter storm warnings. And so, as you know, yesterday we were under a winter weather advisory for today, and they upgraded to a winter storm warning. The winter storm warning is issued because of the anticipation of a more severe winter event. And so it's not that a winter weather advisory means we're not going to have any problems, because we can see problems with winter weather advisories, but with a winter storm warning, which is what we're under right now, the impacts are expected to be greater. So that was the reason for the upgrade that the Weather Service made early this morning. So under a winter storm warning, it's widely expected that we're going to see hazardous travel, possible power outages, and just a situation where many people are just going to need to stay home tonight and tomorrow, at least tomorrow morning, as this storm hits us here in North Texas. And, we always talk about that degree or two, and if it's on a typical summer day, if we forecast the high to be 97 and it ends up being 95, nobody really notices. But in a winter weather event, if we forecast the low to be 28 and it ends up being 30, that can make a huge difference as to what the conditions are on the roads, what type of precipitation falls. In fact, you remember last Wednesday morning, it was just a degree or two up in the mid-levels of the atmosphere that changed that snow over to rain. And so that's what we have to watch. But as Larry mentioned, this is a pretty sure all the computer models are in very good agreement about what type of precipitation that we're going to be able to see with this event moving through. All right, getting a report in Denison, so then in Grayson County, a little bit of a light wintry mix. This is just for 2 o'clock. Temps 30 degrees. So again, we've been talking about how it's moving in from north to south, and so all the areas up along the Red River are starting to see that light wintry mix first. So we've had a report from Bowie, Gainesville, and now Denison. So that's not a surprise at all that we would be seeing that type of precipitation up along the Red River. So thank you so much for all your questions that you've been posting on Facebook and using the hashtag on Twitter. Probably wrap up here in the next few minutes, just scanning more questions here on Facebook. and on Twitter. We're just looking at some of our reporters that are already out reporting that various municipalities, NTTA, TxDOT, they're out there with the brine, they're out there with the sand, really trying to get ahead of the storm as much as they can. And I know that our own Jeff Ray, who you heard from earlier, is heading up to Wise County. And he'll be watching that change over here over the next few hours. We have reporters all over in the Metroplex right now that are getting in place. We have our CBS 11 storm chasers that are available to us, and they'll be out later tonight and tomorrow morning as well. And by the way, tomorrow morning we go on at 4 a.m., normally 4:30, but tomorrow at 4, just so that we can give you a head start as to what's going on with the weather and, of course, all the school delays and cancellations that we were expecting. And, yeah, everyone's in place or getting in place at this point, and we continue to watch that freeze line ease ever so much farther south. So right now it's cutting through Grayson, Cook, Wise, and Jack counties and continues to move toward the Metroplex. So it's going to be closer, again, between 4 and 6 in the Metroplex from north to south is when we expect to see the freezing air get here, and then the changeover to freezing rain. And as Larry mentioned, it will take a few hours for things really to deteriorate on roadways. We always talk about that magic temperature of 28, 29 degrees. That's when we start seeing things really ice up on the roads. And we probably won't get into the 20s until closer to 8, 9, maybe as late as 10 o'clock, but certainly thinking by 9 o'clock we'll begin to see temperatures in the upper 20s across parts of the Metroplex. And that's when we'll start seeing more reports of ice on the roads. And then another wave of heavier sleet and snow overnight with temperatures in the 20s will put down the most ice and mess on the roads for tomorrow morning. So it's kind of the summary right now. I think we'll probably wrap up here in just a minute.
Yeah.
Anything else to say?
We're going to do a live update on CBS 11 at 2 o'clock, so in about 4 minutes or so. If you want to switch on CBS 11, we'll be giving a live update here of the weather. And of course, join us for CBS 11 News at 4 o'clock. Jeff and I will have the latest throughout the afternoon, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and of course 10 o'clock tonight. We hope you join us for the news. And I thank you for joining us here on this little chat. This is the first time we've done something like this.
Yeah, it worked out well.
Yeah, it was great, and we appreciate you hopping on and joining us. And if you have questions throughout the afternoon into the evening, tweet us, CBS 11 Jeff Jam or CBS 11 Larry. We'll answer as many Twitter questions as we can, and also our Facebook pages too. So thank you very much.
Have a good one.
See ya.